Rome's mornings are different. The damp rising from the Tiber, the smoke sinking into the stone streets, the bread coming out of the ovens. When I look back now, I realize that most of my life passed within those smells. I am Gaius Julius Caesar. Today, my name is remembered with great victories, wars, and Senate debates. But let me tell you honestly, I was afraid, happy, mistaken, ambitious, just like you. And sometimes I would wake up in the middle of the night thinking, what am I doing? My childhood passed near Sabura, in the most crowded and toughest parts of Rome. Someone was shouting on every corner, and a rumor wandered through every street. They say we were a noble family, but noble sometimes is nothing more than an old name and the expectations that come with it. At a young age, I learned this. In Rome, people either applaud you or stone you. There is no middle ground. In my youth, Rome was crushed under Sulla's harsh shadow. Lists, exiles, executions. Everyone spoke of order, but that order stood on fear. The most painful part for me was how they cornered me through my marriage. They demanded that I divorce Cornelia, for the good of the state, they said. That was the first time in my life I placed my heart and politics at the same table. I did not leave Cornelia. The price was heavy. I lost my property, my life was in danger, and I was forced to leave Rome. The lesson I learned that day: military life makes the child inside you grow up fast. The first time I lined up for battle, my knees trembled. I tried not to show it. I put on a face worthy of Roman discipline. But inside me there was a voice screaming, what if I die? Then something happened. That voice grew quieter with every clash. It turned into something else. Cold determination. When I returned to Rome, the heart of politics was the forum. It was a theater. Everyone played a role. Everyone waited for applause. I loved speaking, because that was where I learned that words could be faster than swords. When I defended a man in court, I was also defending myself. I am here, see me, I was saying. And yes, I liked being seen. I will not deny it. One of the turning points of my life was being captured by pirates. Yes, it sounds ridiculous. The future ruler of Rome caught by pirates in the Aegean. They took me to a small island and asked for a ransom. I laughed. Is that all you want from me? Ask for more, I said. Arrogance. Maybe. But something was clear inside me. I could not think small. I stayed with them until the ransom was paid. I read poetry, made speeches, even played games. At one point I told them, when I am free, I will hang you. They laughed it off. But as soon as I was released, I gathered men, hunted them down, and kept my word. Yes, you may call it cruel. But in Rome, if your word has no weight, neither do you. Then I climbed the steps one by one, coster, ideally, praetor. At every rung I saw the dirtier side of Rome: money handed out for votes, promises made, alliances built. But I also saw this, being hope in the eyes of the people. When I was aedile, I organized games. People laughed, enjoyed themselves, and I listened to the crowd. Rome's power did not beat in the Senate, but in the heart of that crowd. At some point, I sat at the same table with Pompey and Crassus. Each of us needed the others. My popular support, Pompey's military fame, Crassus' money. If we walked together, even the walls of the Senate would crack, and they did. Some called it the first triumvirate. I called it the true face of Rome. Power unites not through friendship, but through interest. And then Gaul? Ah, Gaul. As I went there, I carried two feelings: fame and fear. Tribes, forests, swamps. A world nothing like Rome's order. But I was determined to bring order there. And let me confess, fighting in Gaul was simpler than dealing with Roman gossip. There, the enemy was clear. In Rome, the enemy sometimes shared bread with you at the same table. As I came to know my legions, I saw that they were not just soldiers, they were family. I got wet under the same rain, walked in the same mud. Sitting by the fire at night, I sometimes looked at their faces and thought, where am I taking them? Because being a commander is not just giving orders. It is carrying human lives on your shoulders. With every loss, something inside me disappeared. But with every victory, I felt one step closer to Rome. I remember Vercingetorix proud, determined, trying to keep his people united. It would have been easy to underestimate him, but I did not. Because if you do not respect your enemy, war makes you stupid. At Alesia, when I was trapped between two armies, I felt everything could end. Then I looked into the eyes of my legions. They were looking back at me. In their eyes, I saw this: "We are here, we are with you." And in that moment, fear retreated. When I returned from Gaul, Rome was no longer the same. The Senate envied me, feared me, wanted to control me. "Leave your legions and come," they said. In truth, they meant, abandon your power, surrender. That was impossible for someone like me. I will never forget the night I stood by the Rubicon. The water flowed quietly, but inside me was a storm. One step, and there would be no turning back. And I took that step. "Alia, iacta est," I said. The die was cast. People romanticize that moment, as if I had no hesitation. No, I hesitated. Because civil war is more bitter than any foreign enemy. Romans killing Romans. The thought tightens your throat. But the Senate left me no path, so I carved my own. When I faced Pompey, there was still a fragment of old respect inside me. We had once shared the same table. But politics is a fire that quickly burns away friendship. At Pharsalus, amid the roar of battle, I felt Rome's fate hanging on a sword stroke. I won, but what I won was not just a victory, it was a heavy burden. Pompey fled to Egypt. I followed him. There were palace intrigues, the shadows of old kings, and Cleopatra. The first time I saw her, the air in the room changed. Intelligent, brave, confident. Speaking with her, I saw a clearer mind than in many Roman senators. Yes, there was a bond between us. People think it is only a love story. But within that bond, I also read the politics of the East, another language of power. When I returned to Rome, they called me dictator. It sounds heavy, doesn't it? Dictator. But I wanted to put Rome in order. Even the calendar was a mess. How could a city that could not even manage time rule the world? I reformed the calendar, eased debts, founded colonies, expanded the Senate. The people loved me, others hated me. Because in Rome, loving one man usually means touching another man's interests. At night, when I was alone, I drifted between the taste of power and the pain of loneliness. People multiply around you, but real friends fade away. Everyone calls you Caesar, but no one says Gaius, because that intimate name is dangerous. It makes you human, and people do not want their leaders to be human. They want them to be stone, like statues, never erring, never sweating, never fearing. I made mistakes. I was afraid. And perhaps my greatest mistake was underestimating certain looks around me. In the Senate, some smiled at me, while icy calculations lived in their eyes. "We are saving Rome," they said. In truth, they were saving their own worlds. As the Ides of March approached, a strange unease filled me. Warnings came, dreams were told. Some said, "Don't go." I went anyway, because retreat was not in my nature. As I walked to the Senate building, I remember the stones of Rome falling silent, as if the city were holding its breath. What followed, it is hard to tell. Suddenly faces, hands, knives around me. When the first blow came, I said, "What is happening?" Then the second, the third. As my warmth spilled onto the stone floor, my eyes met someone Brutus. I loved him like a son. In that moment, disappointment surpassed pain. I wanted to say, "You too." Maybe I did, maybe I did not. People wrote poems from my words, but the truth is this: in that moment, there were no words, only silence. Now, as I tell you all this, I ask one thing. Do not think of me only as a conqueror, a dictator, a commander. I was the child of Rome. Rome raised me, Rome poisoned me, Rome carried me to the summit, and Rome struck me down. My life was a chain: ambition, fear, love, betrayal, victory, loneliness. There is something no one talks about. I did not only wield a sword, I held a pen. In my tent in Gaul, by candlelight, I wrote what I lived, while thinking what will happen tomorrow. Writing let me breathe. From the outside, everything seems clear. Caesar decides, the army marches. But inside, Knowing that every decision holds hundreds of lives at its edge sometimes exhausts a man in silence. Another face of war in Rome was reputation. On the morning I was elected Pontifex Maximus, I embraced my mother Aurelia. We both knew that if I lost that day, I would be politically finished. I was happy when I won, yes, but at the same time, a feeling settled on me. There is no turning back now. Family was my most fragile side. The death of my daughter Julia hurt more than any alliance calculation. In Rome, showing emotion made you seem weak, so I buried my grief inside. But buried things do not stay buried, they return quietly at night. Perhaps my most sincere confession is this: victories, applause, statues, they are all beautiful, but short-lived. After a while, a man wants more. If at that point you do not ask yourself, you are lost. Am I doing this for Rome, or so that my name is not forgotten? I asked that question too late. If I leave one lesson today, let it be this: power warms your hands but can chill your heart. And ruling a city is sometimes harder than ruling an army. You can enforce discipline on an army, but the hearts of people, you can never fully control them. Rome still stands, my name still lingers on tongues. But I still remember that morning scent, bread, smoke, and the damp of the Tiber. Perhaps the truest Rome was not in triumphal parades, but hidden in that simple smell.